I'm very excited for what's up next for you. Our next speaker, Sarah Bond, is the head of Global Partnerships and Development at Xbox. She's going to be talking to us about the innovations shaping our industry today. Please welcome Sarah to the stage.
Thanks, man. Thanks all for having me today. I am thrilled to be here. So today, I'm going to talk about the key innovations shaping the future of gaming. When we think about the future, I think it's always good to ground it in where things started. So everybody, just think of the first game you ever truly loved, like heart and soul loved. Okay, do you have it? For me, it was King's Quest II. I was about 6 or 7, and my dad sat me down in his office to play. At the time, I was learning how to read, so he would actually have me read out the dialogue and type in the commands. It's a little bit of a trick. I remember the fun of figuring out how to move King Graham with the keyboard, and I remember we had to hunt for these 3 keys that would unlock the doors to the enchanted island where Valenice was imprisoned. And I remember just jumping up and down in excitement when we found that very first key. Well, we got it. We got it from Poseidon. But most of all, what I remember is just the fun of exploring together. Later, my family got a console, and gaming became like this family tradition. I would really look forward to playing on Friday nights all together. And it was such a ritual that when I showed up from school, my dad would already have everything booted up and ready to go. He just loved to watch me, and he would cheer me on while I played, and I got so good with the controls on Sonic that he actually nicknamed me the Jumper. I really loved those times. I loved the games we played. I just loved spending time with the person I love. No worry about school or grades, no insecurity about relationships. And when we were played, we were just on this great journey together. So my dad, he is a gamer to this day, and every week he logs hours and hours in Diablo and World of Warcraft. So he jokes with me all the time. I know, he made me put this up. That he is the only 72-year-old in the leaderboards. So he hears that I'm interviewing for a job at Xbox, and the first thing he does is he writes me a 2-page email laying out questions, comments, and feedback for Phil. So it did make for a bit of an awkward interview, but I got the job, so it couldn't have been too bad. So now, I have like the best job in the world. I get to lead business development and platform partnerships for Xbox. That means that I manage all of the partnerships and publishing relationships for Microsoft and Xbox's gaming business. I get to see all the games we bring to console, all of the games that come to our Windows Store, everything that we put into Gamepass, and I get to see all of the games that use our cloud and gaming services like Xbox Live, Mixer, and PlayFab. My team and I, we spend our days meeting with creators and publishers around the globe. London, Shanghai, Warsaw, Tokyo, you name it, we're there. And we get this front row seat to how each and every game lands and grows on our platforms. We get to see what resonates, what doesn't, what players love, what's changing, and what's staying the same. And I get to do that as part of Microsoft, which means I get this perspective into how tech innovation will shape our industry. Honestly, for me, the coolest part is that before I did this, I spent a decade in mobile. And that's an industry which, with 5G, will lead to literally an explosion of new players, literally billions, that are going to be able to experience gameplay that so far has only been possible on PC or console. So these days, I'm playing, and I'm introducing my 7-year-old daughter to gaming. just like my father introduced me. I'm playing as mom, but I'm also playing with an inside view of our industry. And the thing I'm most struck by when I'm doing that is how different yet the same video games are when I first started. They're the same because they deepen connections, parents and children, spouses and siblings, friends, roommates. But they're also different in that now, more than ever, they have the power to connect people who otherwise would have never met. So I was talking about this with John Henke, the CEO of Niantic. He hears stories all the time about people around the world connecting with Pokemon Go. So two strangers will be out and they'll be hunting the same Pokemon, and then suddenly they'll realize they're actually doing the same thing. And they connect in a way they never otherwise would have. They form bonds, and oftentimes that leads to deep, real-world friendships. We see and read about this all the time. A message on Twitter. I've known these guys for years. We've played together on Xbox Live, and finally we've met together and seen each other in person the first time. Or, my husband and I, we met playing games, and now we played side by side in our living room. We've got 2 TVs set up, 2 consoles. That human connection, it's the heart and soul of gaming. We hear it in the stories, and we experience it in our lives. So today, I'm going to share how gaming can connect us even more. How innovations in technology and business will make this connection a reality. And what that unlocks for us all as an industry. So, of the 8 billion people on the planet, 4 billion of them are digitally connected, and 2 billion of them are gamers. By 2030, the 8 will become 9. The 4 will become 5. But the big number is, of the 2 billion, that will become 4 billion. Nearly half of the world's population will be playing games. So we know how big gaming is and how big it will be, but what will it be like? How will it play out in 5, 10, 20 years? Where will we all choose to take it? At Xbox, we have a distinct and bold vision for the future of gaming. We envision a world where you can play any game with anyone on any device. A world where gaming connects each and every one of those 4 billion players. A way for billions to share, experience, and achieve together, no matter device, location, appearance, or physical ability. Doing our part in unlocking that future, that is our passion. It drives us every single day. Until now, technical and business constraints have held us back from this future. You can't play any game because not everybody has the connectivity needed for online games. You can't play anyone because even on the same type of device, more often than not, gamers can't play together if they own different brands. You can't play on any device because a game, it has to work within the constraint of your local compute. And we all have to operate within these constraints. And everyone holds us back from the any game, anyone, any device future. The other thing that we see is that these constraints have actually made a deep mark on the business model of our industry. So limits placed on an individual game's audience mean that big investment is required to break through and have global relevance. It makes it tough for creators to take risks, push boundaries, and even limits creativity. We see this over and over again. Big games, major investment, known brand, massive marketing budget, break through, span platforms, and sell millions and millions of units. Small games, typically built by smaller developers, can also succeed, selling a few 100,000 units or more and making a nice profit. But we also see that the games in the middle, they just get squeezed. Formats such as episodic content, narrative-focused experiences, experimental titles, they can just struggle to find an audience. It's hard for them to be discovered and to just break through the noise. Yet, right now, we are riding a technology wave that will make the future of any game, any device, anyone, finally possible. We're going to break down barriers for developers and players, unleashing creativity and fun. And at Microsoft, we're investing to make that our reality. So there are 3 key technologies that will shape the future of our industry. The first, high-speed connectivity. Second, cloud. And the last, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the first I'll talk about, connectivity. This is one where I saw the impact that connectivity can have when I worked in mobile. In 2009, 4G launched. 4G made it possible for video to be watched on mobile. Back then, Facebook was all about likes and status updates. YouTube was a website. And FaceTime, if you can believe it, it didn't even exist. 4G technology, it changed everything. Now more than 50% of all video is watched on mobile. Just think about that. In less than 10 years, we went from close to nothing to mobile being the #1 way video is watched. What 4G was to video, 5G will be to gaming. Of course, we already have mobile games today, but 5G, with its low latency and faster speed, will make all games possible on mobile. This is going to be big. Today, 4 billion people are digitally connected, but only 1 billion of those actually have high-speed connectivity. By 2030, this is all going to change. And that number will quadruple to 4 billion people. All of those people will have the connectivity to play any game with anyone. We saw this wave coming and made the decision to invest in Project XCloud. XCloud will make it possible to play any game natively from the cloud. That means it can be played on any device. This opens up whole new gaming experiences. A game like Halo, today only possible on console or PC, will suddenly be playable on powered devices in mobile-first markets. Sail Sea of Thieves at home and continue the journey on your phone while out on the go. XCloud takes every game everywhere. And the best part is, developers will be able to deliver these experiences with the exact same version of their game. So the same version of Gears 5, played on an Xbox One X in Memphis, can also be served using XCloud to a mobile phone in India. The second key technology, cloud. So today, we're in an era of massive cloud investment. Companies have put $500 billion into cloud infrastructure. To dimension that one, that's actually 3 times more than what we put to put a man on the moon. The cloud gives every developer access to high-powered tech at the click of a button. It's what powers location-aware AR games, what makes multiplayer possible, and how we can each have a server and create and share our own worlds. As a gaming company, we saw the opportunity to take our decades of experience, taking everything we've built, learned, and done, and make it accessible to creators through the cloud. We started this work by investing in our live ops services, such as PlayFab, and are continuing to build our full gaming service stack. These services reduce the time, cost, and risk of operating and building a game. This means developers can focus on the game and spend less time worrying. And it means gamers get to play the games that come from this creativity. Cloud is a canvas for creativity. The third key technology is artificial intelligence and machine learning. Advances in this area mean we can do things that humans can't do by hand today, and do it at a speed that can be integrated into the game experiences we create. This makes it possible for games to actually dynamically modify for the player based off of input, skill, device, connectivity. So instead of limiting who can play a game based off of minimum specs, the specs will actually adapt to the player and their gaming setup. We're using machine learning to translate input across controller, keyboard, and touch. For example, Forza has a fairly complicated control scheme, but most of the time people just hold down the gas and steer. So for touch input, we're experimenting with a control scheme where you can actually just use your screen to steer, accelerate, and brake. That's it. Machine learning means we can actually create these types of solutions algorithmically, so we can span all types of games and all manner of situations. 3 key technologies: connectivity, cloud, AI, and machine learning. Connectivity and cloud will make it possible for gamers to access precisely the experiences they want. AI, machining, cloud, together, they're going to make it easier for creators to make the games they love. And this is going to massively, massively open up our opportunity, bringing gaming to more than 4 billion people by 2030, and empowering all of us to connect nearly 50% of the world's population. These key technologies will help shape the future of gaming, but what happens when we combine them with business model innovation? Gamers are already signaling to us that the model of purchasing a game, playing it, and then moving on to the next one isn't the only way they want to experience games. They're behaving more like subscribers than buyers. So what does this look like? In the 360 era, a game earned 75% of its revenue in the first 2 months. Launch was everything, and sales quickly dropped off. This has totally changed. Now, an average game's revenue is way up, like way up. I can't tell you, but it's way up. And for top digital titles, it can take 24 months or more to make 75% of their revenue. Gamers, they're playing longer, spending more, and get this, discovering games sometimes years and years after their launch. And this is happening across all games, even narrative games with no post-sale monetization. What subscription does is it leans into that gamer desire to enjoy content over time. And we listen to that. And that's why we have focused so intently on Xbox Gamepass, our gaming subscription. Now, I'll be honest. When we launched Gamepass, some people freaked out. They were worried it was going to destroy sales, make it impossible for developers to make money, and devalue games. But do you know what happened? The exact opposite. Gamepass grows gaming. Gamepass subscribers, we look at what happens to them and how their behavior changes before and after they join. They spend 20% more time playing games. They play 30% more games. And they are 50% more likely to try a new genre or franchise. Through Gamepass, we're seeing a whole new genre of games flourish. Players can find and experience content they otherwise would have never seen. Creators are tapping into audiences they could have never reached. It's making players fall in love with games all over again. To give an example, we put the physics puzzle game Human Fall Flat into Gamepass. We found that 60% of the players who played it had never played a puzzle game before. And that was somewhat expected because people will always try new things if they can do it easily at no additional cost. But when we really dug into the data, we saw something that surprised us. 40% of the 60% went on to buy a puzzle game outside of Gamepass. So by taking away the barrier to trial, we actually created net new buyers for game developers, people who might never have engaged with Human Fall Flat or any other puzzle game. Subscription is the amplifier. More people become players. These players will play and experience more. And when that happens, creativity thrives. Technology innovation, it's going to change what games we can create, how those creations become a reality, and the way those games are played. Business model innovation, like subscription, it harnesses the full potential of these technologies. This is where I go back to my story. To the little girl I once was, hunting for keys with my dad, playing King's Quest in the Bond family tradition. To the little girl sitting next to me every Friday night in our new family tradition. And my own realization of how big a role gaming could play in her future and ours. In 2030, my daughter will be 18. And gaming will have the power to connect her and you to nearly half the world's population. Technology and business innovation, that's what's going to make this connection a reality. And when we all embrace this, so any game can be played with anyone on any device, when we do, we discover our 3 keys. And with them, we unlock the real reward, the freedom to push boundaries, connect with more people, and create more experiences together. Thank you.